It's Sunday and we are getting ready for our last day of guests here at Holdenby House Gardens, and the guys have still allowed, it's the last time they'll be allowed to come into the Falconry Centre and have a chat and see the birds and listen to the eagles yapping. What a beautiful day for the last Sunday opening of the year though, absolutely fantastic. The place looks great, despite not having any finances to continue re-renovation this year. We've done what we can. Elbow grease costs nothing and it goes a long, long way for sure. James, and James has been a reasonably long-term volunteer here at Icarus Falconry, and the reason James volunteered was because he was passionate about becoming a falconer, about becoming a falconer himself, and obviously the best way to learn is often to be around people that are falconers, and volunteering at a falconry centre certainly gives you a lot of groundwork. Now don't get excited, it's incredibly hard to get a space volunteering at a falconry centre because obviously we've got more than enough volunteers all the time. Being so busy with what we do, you can't have too many volunteers because volunteers to begin with actually sap away at our time. But James has been absolutely excellent. A good volunteer is the one that doesn't mind getting their hands dirty straight off the bat. That's what falconry is, and most animal keeping, as we keep going on about on these vlogs, that animal keeping is 90% looking after the animals. James has done really well and he's ordered his own not Harris hawk, red-tailed hawk, and the training's gone exceptionally well. But James, why did you actually decide to get a red-tailed hawk? Because I know originally you were quite down. You were looking at getting a falcon, but you really wanted to be a proper falcon. You wanted to be hunting in the winter, and around here in Northamptonshire, falconry is very difficult with falcons. So why did you go for a red-tailed hawk and not maybe a Harris hawk or a goshawk?
I don't really know. Well, I don't know. It's the Harris hawks I've worked with here. They're brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but I never warmed to them that much, and I've seen pictures of red tails and people that hunt them, and they just seem incredible. And at my start, I wanted to hunt hares with him initially, and I put in for a female, but I didn't get one in the end. So I've ended up with a male, but he's going to be a great hunter for rabbits, which is what I would like to hunt with him. And the goshawks, they're just for a first bird in the situation I'm in, they're just incredibly stressy and too difficult to handle at the moment. And he's sort of in the middle between a Harris hawk and a goshawk, so he's fairly chilled out. As you can see, he's not bothered by much.
He's a pretty good bird, and if you listen to that bird, it's making quite a lot of vocalisation. You could in fact think it might be a bit of an imprint, and it's not. And James is suffering a problem that I would say most novices suffer from, and it's often lack of quarry for your hawk. Now a young hawk needs to be independent as soon as it can, catching its own food, and in these times it's quite difficult because you need access to land, and in the UK it's generally free, but you've got to find the landowner and get their permission, and that's really difficult nowadays. And the more land you've got, the more quarry base you've got, the more chance of your young hawk catching stuff. It's incredibly hard for predators when they're young to find enough food and catch their own food, and most predators die of starvation. Here with a falconer, they're going to get fed anyway, but of course it knows that James feeds him, and it's making sounds. It's sort of saying, come on, let's crack on and get out and go hunting and catch me some tea. This bird is incredibly calm. It doesn't know me at all. It's got no malice with anyone, and it's not at all frightened by anything because James has done such a good job manning this hawk. He knows how to use a hood properly, which most falconers in the UK are pretty poor with. And to be honest, what we've found here at Icarus, we've got a few youngsters like James. I think James is about 14 years old.
Me?
He's not really. James is actually, congratulations, this week just passed his driving test. So another life skill there. But he's done an incredibly good job. there's something that there's going to be really keen falconers to pick fault with what James has done. So there's only one fault I can give you, and that's that he's got this Jessie in that ankle it the wrong way round. But don't worry, he'll rectify that later for those that like to pick fault. Luckily for James, he lives in a nice place with a lot of land around him. So the vocalisation is no issue at all for him. He hasn't got neighbours to worry about. And he's this close now to having that hawk entered and a made bird. Incredibly well. Done incredibly well. Now, when you got this bird, it had problems, didn't it? It had a major problem, didn't it? And
yeah.
Can you show us what that is?
Well, you can just see if he's got a slight issue with his talon where he pulled the tendon in his toe, and that left him unable to move that talon, and then it's left a bit of a scab there, which will disappear over time.
It's healed up well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's healing up, but unfortunately he can't use that toe, and that's one of the main sort of killing toes, if you like, which is a shame because he's now only got 1 foot really, but due to the size of his feet and being red tails being incredibly hardy birds, he should deal with it quite well, and he should be able to hunt rabbits as normal.
So if you look at it, as a falconer, looking at species of birds, we look at the size of their feet and we can tend to know what kind of prowess they're going to have. So if you look at the size of this bird and then you look at these feet, they're absolutely enormous, and that tells us as falconers that's a really capable bird, certainly one that's not just looking at scavenging. Really capable bird, and hopefully we'll report back in a few weeks, let you know how James and his hawk are getting on. But it's great to see that amongst all the dabblers in falconry in the UK, there's still young people coming through that listen, read, and really strive to be the best they can be. And it's great to be around these guys. And there's someone like me that's getting a bit old and, you know, a bit too busy now to really do a really good job of falconry at the moment, with the Falconry Centre and other business, animal business. It's great to have the opportunity to go out with these young ones and live their passion again and see how they're getting on. So we'll catch up soon. But for now, thanks very much, James. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.
Thanks for seeing your hawk. What's his name?
His name is Apollo.
Apollo. And how did you come to that name? One last thing, out of interest.
I'm not really sure. I like the Greek god names of different birds, which I sort of took inspiration of Carl, who works here, who you may have seen on the channel before, and he names a lot of his birds after the Greek gods, and I sort of took inspiration from that, and that's I just liked, and I just sort of, and that's
felt it suited him or fitted as we do with names, don't we?
Yeah, it suited him well, and it stuck, and that's it. So he's, he wouldn't be anything else now.
So I'm going to go and get a cup of tea. I'm going to give James an off-camera rollicking for not putting equipment on his hook correctly, and we'll see you soon. Catch up with the rest of the vlog.
Just thought I'd pop this into the vlog. I'm cleaning out my lovebird, and she's laid 3 eggs. They're all infertile, of course, because she's on her own in there, but that's about 6 she's laid this year now.
So up at the Falconry Centre, we've had a great day with some lovely guests flying some of our bigger birds today. And now, as always, the guests have gone home. Still lots of work to do for Jo and Emily. And we're going to just see if the great grey owl will just start its retraining. So every year she gets a rest during the summer months, and it takes a few days to switch her brain back on to what she's meant to do for her experiences. So we're going to join Jo and just see if she'll do her first baby steps, just to get her brain around what her job is again. Because if you're an owl, you're not the brainiest bird of prey. They're not stupid by any means, but it takes a while to get back into a habit and routine. So join us in a second, and we'll see if Galileo, the great grey owl, remembers basically what she's meant to do. So you can see Jo's using a training line, a Creance line, purely because at this stage we don't trust her. She could easily get spooked, fly off into a tree, lose the plot. So you can see by her body language, she's not happy. So what she wanted to do was to fly eagerly to Jo for a little bit of food and then take it straight back to the perch, and that's purely out of nerves. And basically now, really, by not letting her do that, Jo's kind of upset her. And look at that, so Jo's waving her supper
Leo,
about a metre away.
come on.
And this owl that flies to people on our experience days, just great flying for photography, completely relaxed and in its element.
Come on then.
It's like starting again because she's had a rest. Don't fly her in the summer, she's a cold weather bird.
Come on.
And you wouldn't think at this stage that in another 3 or 4 days she'll be flying perfectly free
Come on.
to Jo and to Jo's guests. Absolutely amazing what goes on inside the head of an owl.
Come on.
How funny.
Hiya.
Look at that. So she wants to take it run. Oh, she's eating that bit. And Jo's shielding the perch because she's eager to get back to the perch. She'd rather be there than with Jo at this point in training. It's just crazy for a bird that's been hand reared and just had a few months off and essentially forgot her job. Beautiful species, great grey owl, a real northern Arctic species.
Leo. Galileo.
Feathers there, all feathers on her head. Tiny little head, really. So look at this. This is the distance we're calling her.
Leo.
Bit of food visible even, so she actually knows what she's coming for, and still
Hey. Hey.
back out in the open, a place she's grown up in,
Come on.
but not inside the 4 walls of her aviary that she spent the summer in. Working with owls is interesting, isn't it, Jo?
It's very testing.
It's very testing.
Patience.
To give you some idea, Zara, the female harrisock here, she's had the same routine as the owl. She spent the summer inside an aviary. She's come out within a few days. I started doing something with her, and within probably 2 days she's just back to normal. But from day one she remembered what she's meant to do. An intelligent species, the diurnal birds of prey, their brains work very differently from the owls. Let's have a look at this. What a gorgeous creature. And people have been able to view her in her aviary, but they're going to enjoy her much more, aren't they, Jo?
Yeah. When she gets flying to
Flying
guests,
free.
people who come in the summer want to come back to fly her because she looks so gorgeous when they look at her. They want to see her flying to their glove.
Yeah, so they'll come on an experience day in the summer. She's not on the flying team in the summer, and people will pay us a return visit just to fly this owl.
She flies so much better when it's colder too. To see her when there's snow on the ground or frost on the ground and it's icy, she flies so much better when it's cold
Just
and crisp.
gliding over that sort of frosty terrain in her element.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to get her going again, but at the moment it's very slow work.
Very slow work with an owl. The strange thing with this owl is, captive bred, knows where the food is, easy life, but despite not being the most intelligent group of birds of prey, this girl finds her own food easily, doesn't she?
Really
She
easily.
does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of voles around this estate and around the Falconry Centre, and when she's out flying, she'll sometimes bag up and basically let you carry her home, won't she? She'll
We had
catch so
to.
many.
We actually had to stop her flying in the woods because she was catching too many mice and voles.
Too much. So you and your guests are
Yeah.
disturbing them, and she's
Yeah.
just dropping on them from the trees. So very efficient, and all because really that amazing facial disc that can hear the tiniest sounds down in the leaf litter or between the grass. So to us, she's looking round gormlessly, but what she's actually probably doing is listening to all the little birds and the sounds that she's not heard from her aviary maybe for a few months. So to her, the world is probably a cacophony of sound, isn't it? We don't really think about that, do we?
It's got to be.
It's probably like so much distraction of sound.
But then they're very good at tuning out and
Focuses on what she
focusing
wants
on the
to.
prey. So I mean, her hearing is so amazing. She can hear the heartbeat of a mouse at 2 meters away,
Well, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
which is stupid, isn't it?
And yet, when you're calling her, she can tune that sound out
Yeah.
completely and ignore
just
you.
white noise.
Just background noise. Well, we got somewhere. And strangely, from that ridiculous carry-on, you know as well as I did, a few days she'll be flying free and wowing the guests and covering great distances.
Definitely.
With a great grey owl, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, just got in from a long day. Phone rings. There's an elderly Indian lady with a 4-foot snake in her garden, coiled up in a plant pot, and she's absolutely terrified. Can I go out and help with the problem? Not far away, we'll pop out. So the 4-foot snake's going to be 2.5-foot grass snake, I would absolutely believe. But because they're so fearful, if we leave that snake there, it is gonna come to a bad ending for sure. When people are scared of snakes, without a lot of education, it always goes the wrong way. So we're going to go move the snake. Hopefully it's a grass snake. Hopefully we can get it a nice hibernaculum spot where we know there's other grass snakes. Ah, watch this space, all in a day's work. So we're back from the snake rescue. Sadly not to be, because this guy is unfortunately incredibly dead, stone cold dead. It is severely damaged in a couple of places and absolutely riddled with fly eggs. So this guy's been dead a little while. It's only been dead all day today. They insist, the guys are a lovely Indian family, they were great people, and they insist that they did not kill it themselves. So something's probably just natural causes, or natural causes by a natural predator, should I say. But it's a shame. It's an adult female grass snake, again important in the breeding population, and it's incredibly chunky, so it's doing really well for itself. It's good at what it does. It's strayed into the wrong place, and either the neighbours have killed it and it's made it to the garden I've been to, or an animal's killed it. Ironic really, terrified of grass snakes, the people. The house is called Lakeside and it backs onto the lake of the golf course, so probably not the best place to live if you're that frightened of grass snakes. They're absolutely gutted. One thing I don't like to see is a dead snake. It happens far too often. There we go. The Bedlingtons like the strange smell, because dogs are scavenging dirty, filthy animals, aren't you? Yes, you are, Evie. So, nothing more we can do for this guy. What a terrible shame. Wurzel a quick spin around in the sky. There's no air at all. We're having a lot of flat calm conditions. He hates that. He doesn't want to do the work. So, a little bit of a wing stretch, and then come and join us afterwards. We're going to just begin the Golden Eagles training for this year's falconry season. But for now, let's see if Wurzel wants to do anything at all. And straight away, he can feel the lack of breeze. He can see the trees aren't moving. He's certainly far from ignorant to the prevailing conditions. He susses them out straight away. I'm going to give him some encouragement, because this bird, in an enclosed field where he's got to work with no wind or lift, he'd just rather not bother. Come on, Wurzel. Wurzel. He spotted a traffic cone. Go. Don't land. Go. A good launch, because else he'll just jump on the floor and think, can't be bothered. Look at that. No air at all. No air at all. He's going to try and mug me today, I'm sure. We'll see. Just a wing stretch. Whoa, nice landing. And his breakfast. So it's finally that time of year. We're trying to get somewhere where I can start thinking about doing a little bit of falconry for myself. Zeus here now. I can't actually remember without checking whether this is his 7th season or his 8th season. Now this year, my son Kyle's probably going to work with Zeus if he can build up a bond with him, because this is very much a one-person bird, and it takes a lot to trust someone else. And hopefully he will be able to do that, and he'll get to flying, because work pressure means this year I think Kyle will put far more time into this magnificent beast, Zeus the Golden Eagle, than I could this year. So we're just going to try a bit of preliminary training. Now this is you could call this a credence line, which we train birds on at the very beginning of training in case they're a little bit nervous. But actually with Zeus, it's part of his gymnasium. This relatively light 8mm line produces enough drag on the grass as he flies back and forth that although it's not a weight he's got to pull along, it means he can't do a few flaps and glide all the way, not using any cardio or any muscles. The drag on this line means he has to do much more flapping, working those muscles that he's rested all summer, and early stages of fitness training. So up there is a piece of black mat, which is his training mat, and that's what I put a small food reward on. He has to fly to that before he comes back to me. I could just chuck the food on the grass and he'd see it just as well. But then you're encouraging this eagle when he's flying to constantly scan grassland below, looking for morsels, by having a training line there, by having a training mat, that's the target, that's where the food always is, not just lying around on the ground. It might sound ridiculous, but I know people whose eagles have become just that. They threw the food onto the grass. When the eagle was flying free, supposedly falconry hunting, it was cruising around, scanning below with its amazing eyesight, hoping to find bits of food laying in the grass. So training mat, very specific. Let's see, he hates me wearing a blue top. He can't stand Georgia behind the camera with the long blonde hair. He just doesn't like it. It's things that have all spooked him. She's going to back off, or you guys back off, and we'll just see if he sees his training line. Sees his food on the mat. Hood off. Can you see it? No problem at all. We're only going to do this a couple of times. Zeus! Zeus!
Let's go further back because he hates me.
You can tell by his reluctant behaviour, this is the first time this year that he's quite nervous of flying this far back to me because he hasn't done it for several months. Zeus! Zeus! So, this is kind of how the bird of prey mind works. Habit and routine is what they love. This guy, I've worked with him since he was 16. Thanks for that, that's salty. Since he was 16 weeks old, and we've worked all through the winters together as in a falconry partnership. He's had a summer rest. This is the first time I've asked him to fly back to me in several months, and it's interesting to see that. I'm not quite sure. Even though he's done it for all these years, I'm not sure because blonde person, not sure because I'm blue, and not sure because it's just the first time. So we're going to keep it short. If you've watched any of our other bird of prey videos, you might have seen us talking about once a bird's trained, or very quickly in its training, start hiding the food in the glove so they don't know whether there's a reward there or not. Because if you're following on working with a Harris hawk or a red-tailed hawk, you'll be calling that bird to the glove many times during a hunting outing, and if you reward it every time, it'll soon get so fat it'll come to a standstill. With Zeus, it's very different. I always show him a reward. He always gets all the reward he can see because he hunts out of the hood. So although he flies great distances, he has far less flights, maybe 6 or 10 in an outing. So I can always give him a nice chunk of food for that behaviour, and he will seize the food, unlike the other birds we fly. So I'm going to back away from the camera. Zeus! So that's it, training session number 1 of the year over. You can see his brain clicking into gear. Reasonable reward to finish with. And he's on a diet this time of year just to get fine-tune his weight. We're getting him back from being a summer slob to a winter athlete. Here's a strange fact. This eagle flies at just under 9 pounds in weight. Male peregrine falcon that we fly here flies at 1.5 pounds in weight. They need about the same amount of food to survive on a daily basis. How crazy is that? And it's just completely to do with metabolism. This guy, eagles and buzzards, they can shut their metabolism right down slow, and if they get really hungry, they burn less calories by shutting that metabolism down and slowing it down, and they can go great lengths of time living off internal body fat and starving, really. The falcons, much more like I will say, more like a fighter jet. So even ticking over on the runway, they're guzzling down fuel, high quality fuel at, oh sorry Zeus, that's a bit tight, his head's swelled. They're guzzling down high quality food, even on high quality fuel, even on tick over. This guy ticking over, hardly any calories. So something like a quail, which we buy frozen to feed our birds. This guy, if he has about 3/4 to a whole quail a day, on most occasions is more than enough food. But a peregrine falcon, way smaller than this guy, it almost needs the same food and sometimes even more. Very different how the different groups and family groups of birds of prey are designed to do their job. Now, anybody that watches our vlogs knows that I can waffle. My God, I can waffle. Wife calls me chatty man, but what you don't know is I can also waffle on pen and paper. So thanks to Bob Dalton, who produces this really, really good quality Falconry Magazine. He's actually poked in there one of my articles. How lovely is that? So the various stuff I waffle about, I also do a bit of writing about. How nice to see one in print. It always makes you feel a bit like, oh, that's me, doesn't it? There you go. The world of falconry. Get yourself a subscription if you like falconry. Top quality magazine. All sorted out by the great Bob Dalton. Thanks, Bob. Don't forget, like and subscribe. We hope you enjoyed this week's vlog, and stay tuned. See what's next. We never ever know.